This discovery wasn't the result of extensive excavations. It happened almost by chance. Workers conducting routine maintenance stumbled upon a narrow, sealed passage, an entrance that seemed long forgotten. When they finally breached it, what lay beneath the earth exceeded all expectations. The fact that a complex network of tunnels remained untouched beneath a hotel raises questions not only about what was hidden but also why. It prompts one to wonder how many other forgotten bunkers are still buried underfoot, awaiting their moment. Since the end of World War II, Europe has continually unveiled secrets buried beneath its soil, sometimes quite literally. From vast underground shelters in Berlin to the ominous corridors of the Wolf's Lair in Poland, the tunnel systems of the Nazi era have long captivated historians and conspiracy theorists alike. Some were constructed as bomb shelters, others as covert weapons factories concealed beneath cities to evade Allied bombings. Some, like the Führer's bunker in Berlin or the tunnels near Berghof, were built as personal sanctuaries designed for potential escape. Such findings aren't entirely unusual. Even today, new tunnel systems are occasionally uncovered in forests, beneath farms, or even under modern buildings. Their presence serves as a grim reminder of how deeply the Nazi regime embedded itself into the landscape, both physically and ideologically. When a research team began investigating the Oberalpsberg Mountains, a region steeped in Nazi history, they didn't anticipate anything extraordinary. After all, this was the site of Hitler's Alpine retreat, the Eagle's Nest, and it was known that bunkers existed in the area. What more could remain hidden? During ground scans beneath a once-sealed bunker near a hotel built in the post-war years, the team detected a void, an uncharted space beneath the mountain. What they descended into was far from an ordinary bunker. It wasn't a single tunnel or an abandoned room. It was an intricate web of passageways. Some were narrow and uneven, others well-structured and reinforced with aging concrete. Some corridors led to collapsed stones, others to doors sealed so tightly they seemed untouched for decades. The most unsettling detail? These tunnels appeared on no historical military maps. Even local residents, whose families had lived above the mountain for generations, were unaware of their existence. One shaft stood out in particular. At its base, rusted iron rungs descended into darkness. The chamber they found below improbably connected to the structure above, the hotel now a modern, guest-filled establishment. Yet no one had ever reported signs of what lay beneath. Secret rooms hidden below. Nestled in the picturesque Bavarian Alps near the town of Berchtesgaden, Oberalpsberg is a region of serene natural beauty that once served as one of the most notorious hubs of Nazi power. Here, amid towering peaks and dense pine forests, Adolf Hitler established his mountain residence, Berghof. Originally a modest vacation home known as Haus Wachenfeld, the property was acquired by Hitler in 1933, shortly after he rose to power. Over time, it was transformed into the sprawling Berghof, an alpine retreat that became his favored personal sanctuary. Berghof was not merely a place of rest but also a secondary government residence. Hitler spent considerable time here, especially in the years leading up to and during the early stages of World War II. His connection to the Bavarian Alps was profound. He found solace in the dramatic landscapes, crisp mountain air, and the isolation the region offered. The setting provided a striking contrast to the political turmoil of Berlin, allowing Hitler to project an image of a contemplative leader. The panoramic views from Berghof's large window became symbolic of his self-proclaimed vision for Germany's future. Oberalpsberg gradually evolved into a hub of Nazi activity. High-ranking officials like Himmler, Göring, and Bormann established their own complexes nearby, forming a secluded political enclave. Despite the tranquil surroundings, the region silently witnessed decisions with devastating global consequences. Officially a vacation home, It was, in reality, a command center, a refuge, and a fortress. Over time, an elaborate network of underground tunnels and bunkers was carved deep into the rock beneath, linking Berghof to other Nazi structures throughout the region. Yet some parts of this labyrinth were never documented, believed to have been lost, sealed, collapsed, or forgotten beneath layers of post-war construction. This belief shifted recently when a dilapidated hotel, built in the post-war years atop the mountain, began to deteriorate. Developers inspecting the site for renovation noticed odd anomalies in the ground below. Initial scans revealed voids and empty spaces where solid rock was expected. Intrigued, a local research team began a meticulous investigation. Beneath the crumbling foundation of the old hotel, hidden from view for decades, they uncovered a secret access tunnel. It was narrow, permeated with cold, and spiraled downward in steep, winding turns, like a worm burrowing through the earth. The tunnel's walls glistened eerily with moisture, and the air was thick with ancient dust, creating the sensation that each breath transported you to a distant past. It became clear this was no ordinary utility shaft or pipeline. It was something entirely different, deliberately concealed, and remarkably well preserved, as if time had bypassed it. At the end of this ominous tunnel stood a reinforced iron door, locked shut from the inside, unmoved for over 70 years since its last occupants, or those who sealed it, abandoned the place. When researchers finally pried it open, the sound was chilling. Metal scraped against metal, like a ghostly moan echoing through the darkness, a warning from a long-gone era. What lay beyond stunned even seasoned World War II historians. Before them were underground rooms frozen in time, like specters of a bygone age. The first chamber was surprisingly livable, even homely, despite its subterranean nature. A rusted but intact bed, a table, a cabinet, all spoke of someone's presence. Most astonishingly, in the center of the room stood a fully installed bathtub, sunken into the floor and encased in thick concrete. Nothing had been looted or vandalized. The space appeared simply abandoned, not destroyed. It was evident this was no mere soldier's bunker. As later confirmed by archival researchers, this was part of Hitler's personal underground quarters, located beneath what later became the hotel. This complex of rooms was designed as a hidden refuge, protected from both airstrikes and prying eyes. Above, tourists and staff once strolled through the hotel's halls, oblivious to what lay directly beneath their feet. Below, thick walls, soundproof doors, and reinforced ceilings guarded secrets sealed in stone. The entire room remained untouched, as if no one had lived there since 1945. No signs of habitation, no graffiti, no looting. It was as though someone had simply locked the door and walked away, intending never to return. Had the hotel above not begun to decay, this strange piece of history might have remained hidden forever. Yet this was only the beginning. One corridor plunged deeper, descending away from the living quarters. The air grew colder, the light from flashlights dimmer, and symbols began appearing on the walls. Enigmatic markings, some faded by time, others carved deeply into the stone. A sense of unease gripped the team as they realized this was more than a mere shelter. It was a descent into something far darker. To grasp its true purpose, they had to press on. The deeper the team ventured into the underground complex, the more surreal their experience became. These weren't just tunnels. They were corridors of a lost world, frozen in time. Each step peeled back a layer of silence, as if the mountain itself had held its breath for decades. It became evident that this wasn't a hastily built bunker from the regime's final days. It was meticulously designed, carefully planned, and bore an unsettling air of personal significance. In one damp, frozen chamber, they found their first major clue: a wooden crate, half crushed by fallen debris, sealed with rusted metal bands. Etched on its side was a chillingly familiar symbol, a Nazi eagle clutching a swastika. Even after all these years, the sight of it made the room feel colder. Inside were fragile documents with curled edges, some too faded to read, but others bore legible markings. Military codes, dates, and something stranger, hand-drawn schematics that didn't match the bunker's layout. These sketches depicted larger structures, more intricate rooms, some seemingly extending beyond the known perimeter of the complex. Were there more chambers, more tunnels, still sealed behind false walls or buried under rubble? Then came personal items. A pair of spectacles, a set of fountain pens arranged with obsessive precision, and a leather notebook, tattered but partially legible. Names were written in sharp, deliberate strokes, some underlined, others crossed out. One name stood out like a specter: Bormann. Could this have been a covert war room, a private sanctuary for the Third Reich's inner circle? As the team cautiously explored the chamber, they found a wardrobe, an odd sight amid the cold concrete. Inside hung thick woolen coats with military insignia stitched onto the shoulders. One bore a barely legible tag, unmistakably authentic. Nearby stood a set of pristine porcelain dishware, not military rations or emergency supplies, but fine bone-white plates and delicate teacups, the kind you'd expect in an upscale dining room, not an underground fortress. It became disturbingly clear. This wasn't just a refuge. It was a residence, a sanctuary prepared for extended stays. Then they discovered a passage. At first glance, it was merely a wall panel, but it slid open with a creak of age, revealing a narrow corridor hidden behind it. The passage descended, tight and damp, burrowing deeper into the mountain. It seemed endless, branching at intervals. Some tunnels had collapsed, while others stretched into darkness. Old ventilation ducts clung to the ceilings, and electrical cables ran like veins along the walls. Long dead, but once part of something far more sophisticated than anticipated. One tunnel led to a hatch concealed beneath a forest thicket, now overgrown with moss and trees. Nothing but wilderness above, no buildings, no landmarks, just open forest. Whoever designed this escape route ensured absolute invisibility. The final discovery was the most human and haunting. In a narrow crevice near one of the corridors, tucked inside a sealed metal box, lay a stack of old photographs, most damaged by water beyond repair, but some still clear. One showed a man in uniform smiling beside a woman holding a child. Another depicted the same woman alone on a bench, staring at the camera with unreadable eyes. These weren't propaganda images. They were personal, private family snapshots, brought here and left behind. Suddenly, the cold concrete felt less empty. These weren't just rooms. They were echoes of plans, fears, power, and perhaps regret. The bunker was no longer merely a war relic. It was a time capsule of people who vanished without a trace, their intentions sealed behind steel doors and crumbling rock. The most chilling realization was that what they'd uncovered might only be the beginning, for behind every explored tunnel, another seemed to wait, silent, buried, watching. The hotel above, with its weathered stone walls and vintage architecture, nestled peacefully among the Bavarian hills, had long welcomed tourists unaware of the secrets beneath their feet. During routine restoration, workers noticed an anomaly in the basement floor, a section of concrete that didn't quite match in texture or sound. A false panel was pried open, revealing a sealed metal door untouched for over 70 years. When it creaked open, the staircase beyond descended into pristine, untouched darkness. What they found below shocked the historical community. Private underground chambers, carved into the mountain's bedrock, allegedly belonging to Adolf Hitler himself. These weren't military bunkers but living quarters, designed with meticulous detail and purpose, eerily preserved. The first room was a study, its dusty bookshelves still holding original tomes with cracked but readable spines. A desk faced a bare concrete wall, a single wooden chair neatly tucked in, as if someone had just stepped away. Next was a bedroom, its mattress long decayed but the frame intact, with traces of drapery and a wardrobe containing a single long coat. The most discussed find was a bathtub, centered in a tiled bathroom, implying permanence and comfort. Someone intended to live here, not just hide. The plumbing system remained intact, pipes carefully threaded through the walls, not hastily installed but precisely engineered. A small kitchen held rusted pans and stacked porcelain plates. A lounge area featured what appeared to be an early radio, now silent but once likely used to monitor the outside world. This was a space for one or two people, not a team or staff, but someone meant to vanish without leaving. Its location was a secret within a secret, buried deep beneath the hotel and connected by a hidden passage seamlessly integrated into the original architecture. Stumbling upon it by chance was impossible. You had to know where to look. The lingering question remains: was this a last-ditch refuge for when Berlin fell, or a private hideaway for one of history's most infamous figures? Either way, the implications are chilling. While war raged across Europe, someone was building a sanctuary beneath a peaceful mountain resort, a place to reflect, retreat, or wait. For over 70 years, it remained untouched, a time capsule of secrecy, fear, and power. Now uncovered, it raises the haunting question: what else lies buried in the mountain, awaiting discovery?